She yelled at the airport janitor for comforting her crying child. They then froze when he said her name. The terminal buzzed with the usual chaos, rolling suitcases bumping across tiled floors, muffled flight announcements echoing overhead, and the restless shuffle of tired travelers. It was the kind of noise that blurred into one overwhelming hum, a soundscape that left no room for quiet or peace. Among the rows of molded plastic seats near Gate 12 sat Claire. Her posture was slumped, shoulders heavy with fatigue, as though she were being pulled down by invisible weights. In her lap, her toddler writhed and wailed, his small body hot with tears and frustration. His cries cut through the already cluttered noise, earning quick glances from strangers, some sympathetic, others laced with judgment. Clara felt every stare like a pinprick against her skin. She tried everything she knew. She offered him crackers, pulled out a toy car from her bag, bounced him gently on her knee, even sang the lullaby that usually soothed him at bedtime. Nothing worked. Every attempt failed, and with each passing minute, the knot in her chest grew tighter. She was exhausted, truly, bone-deep exhausted. The morning had started before sunrise with frantic packing and a rush to the airport. A cancelled flight derailed everything, followed by a long wait in line to rebook, only to land a delayed connection. She hadn't eaten since a granola bar hours ago. Her son hadn't napped. Now she sat in this limbo, trapped in an overcrowded terminal, with the child who couldn't stop crying. Her eyes stung as her son's screams grew louder, and she felt her own breaking point closing in fast. She leaned closer to him, whispering desperately, "Please, sweetheart, please stop crying. Mommy's so tired, please." The words came out cracked, not just with exhaustion, but with helplessness. A quiet part of her mind whispered, "You're failing. Everyone sees it. You can't even keep your own child calm." When she finally muttered, almost to herself, "I can't do this anymore," it wasn't anger, it was surrender. And then, out of the corner of her eye, she noticed him, a man in a faded janitor's uniform, pushing a mop bucket, had slowed his steps as he passed. He didn't look crushed or annoyed. He didn't glance at her the way others did, with judgment or discomfort. Instead, he looked at her son. He crouched slightly, his voice low, steady, and warm. "Hey, little guy," he said gently, a soft smile lighting his weathered face. "Airports can be scary, huh? Want to see a magic trick?" Claire blinked, momentarily stunned. Her son hiccuped mid-cry, his sobs stuttering with curiosity. He stared at the stranger with wide, tear-filled eyes. The janitor pulled a coin from his pocket and held it up. "Watch this," he said with playful seriousness. He closed his fist, then opened it slowly empty. A second later, with the flick of his hand, the coin appeared behind the boy's ear. Her son gasped, then giggled through the tears. It was the sweetest sound Claire had heard all day. Relief washed through her like cool water, her shoulders sagging with the release of tension. The janitor repeated the trick, letting the boy hold the coin this time. Her son turned it over in his little hands, smiling. His crying stopped, but for Claire, the relief lasted only a moment. Pride, embarrassment, and exhaustion collided inside her. The humiliation of a stranger stepping in to succeed where she had failed burned in her chest. "Please don't interfere," she snapped, her voice sharper and louder than she intended. Heads turned again. The janitor paused, straightening slowly. The kind smile faded from his lips, replaced by something quieter, heavier, though his eyes never lost their gentleness. And then, in a voice that was both hesitant and certain, he said her name, softly, almost like a memory. "Claire?" She froze. Her son held the coin tightly, his laughter fading into small hiccups of contentment, but Claire could barely breathe. She looked at the man, really looked at him for the first time. The lines etched around his eyes, the gray threaded through his dark hair, the steady kindness in his glasses. Something clicked. Her voice trembled. "Mr. Alvarez?" Time folded back on itself. Suddenly, she wasn't in an airport anymore. She was a 15-year-old girl again, standing outside the gym in her old high school. She remembered the mop and bucket, the man who always seemed to be nearby, working quietly, but never too busy to notice. Mr. Alvarez, the janitor who stayed late in the evening so kids had a safe place to wait when rides were late. The man who once handed her half a sandwich, no questions asked, when he realized she hadn't eaten. The man who found her crying behind the bleachers after her father left for good, and simply sat with her. He didn't lecture, didn't pry, he just listened. He stayed until her breathing slowed, until she felt like she could stand again. Back then, she thought she was invisible, a girl with hand-me-down clothes, slipping grades, and a mother who worked nights and weekends. She thought nobody saw her, but he had. Tears blurred her vision now. "Yeah, I didn't recognize you." A broken bar. Mr. Alvarez shrugged softly, shifting his mop bucket. The rubber wheels squeaked against the floor. "It's been a long time," he said. His voice was calm, the same steady tone she remembered. "You've been carrying a lot today." "I just wanted to help." Her throat ached. The very man who had once given her quiet strength when she felt most alone had appeared again exactly when she needed it most. And what had she done? She had yelled at him. "I'm so sorry," she whispered, her voice breaking. But Mr. Alvarez shook his head gently. That familiar smile touched his lips again. "Don't be." "Sometimes we all forget that kindness doesn't need permission." The words landed in her chest like a weight and a balm at the same time. Claire kissed the top of her son's head, her heart heavy with gratitude. Around them, the noise of the airport seemed to fade. For a moment, it was just her child, and the reminder that goodness often walked quietly beside us, unnoticed until we desperately needed it. Sometimes, it wore work boots and pushed them up. Her son grinned, holding up the coin like a treasure. "Magic," he said proudly. Clara laughed through her tears. "Yes, baby, magic." When the boarding call finally echoed through the terminal, she rose to her feet, holding her son close. She turned back toward Mr. Alvarez. He gave her son a little wave and a wink, the same playful gesture he'd used with her classmates decades earlier. "Thank you," Clara said softly. The words were simple, but her voice carried everything behind them: the sandwich, the listening ear, the quiet presence that had mattered so much when she was young, and the reminder now that kindness had no expiration date. Mr. Alvarez nodded. "Take care of him, Claire, and take care of yourself." She smiled, her tears slipping freely now. As she walked toward the gate, her son resting quietly against her shoulder, her heart felt lighter than it had in days, and she realized something powerful, something she would carry forever. Kindness, no matter how small or unexpected, could change the course of a day or even a life. Sometimes, when we're at our breaking point, the universe doesn't just send help up, it sends us the very person who once reminded us we were never invisible.